The sound of my mother-in-law's hand connecting with my face echoed through the dining room like a gunshot. 23 people fell silent. 23 pairs of eyes turned to watch me. The poor girl from nowhere, finally getting what she deserved. At least, that's what Margaret thought. What none of them knew was that in exactly 4 minutes, everything they believed about me was about to shatter. Welcome to Crown and Karma Tales. If you're enjoying this story already, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I love connecting with listeners from all around the world. Now, let's get back to the moment that changed everything. My cheek burned, not just from a slap, but from the humiliation. I stood there in the designer dress I'd saved for months to buy, the one I'd hoped would finally make me fit in with the Bennett family, and felt the familiar sting of not being enough. That's for ruining Thanksgiving. You ungrateful little gold digger, Margaret hissed. Her perfectly manicured finger pointed at my face. My husband, David, sat frozen at the head of the table. His eyes met mine for a brief second before he looked away. That look told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't going to defend me. Not this time. Not ever. The crime I'd committed? I'd brought a store-bought pumpkin pie instead of making one from scratch. That was it. That was my unforgivable sin at the Bennett family Thanksgiving. In this family, we have standards, Margaret continued, her voice dripping with disdain. We don't cut corners. We don't take the easy way out. But how would you know anything about standards? You came from nothing. You are nothing. 3 years. I'd endured 3 years of this woman's abuse. 3 years of backhanded compliments, deliberate exclusions, and constant reminders that I wasn't born into wealth. 3 years of watching my husband shrink smaller and smaller under his mother's thumb until he became a stranger. I'd met David at a coffee shop where I was working 2 jobs to put myself through community college. He'd seemed different then, kind, brave. He'd pursued me despite his mother's obvious disapproval. He'd promised me that our love was stronger than his family's prejudices. He'd lied. Mother, that's enough. David finally spoke, but his voice was weak. A child's voice, not a husband's. Don't you dare defend her. Margaret snapped at him. I told you not to marry beneath you. I told you this little waitress was only after your money. And look at her now. Can't even be bothered to bake a simple pie for the family that's given her everything. Everything. I work full-time as a financial analyst now, having graduated top of my class. I pay half of all our bills, despite David's trust fund. I'd asked for nothing from the Bennetts except basic respect, and that was the one thing they'd never give me. I didn't want your money, I said quietly, finding my voice. I never did. Margaret laughed, a cruel, sharp sound. Oh please, girls like you always want what we have. You saw my son and saw dollar signs. You probably got pregnant on purpose too, didn't you? Tried to trap him. The room gasped. Even for Margaret, this was beyond the pale. There was no pregnancy. There had never been a pregnancy. She was simply inventing cruelty for sport now. That's a lie, I said, my voice stronger now. The fear was draining away, replaced by something else. Clarity. You know that's a lie. Do I? I wouldn't put anything past someone of your caliber. Coming from that trashy little town, no family, no background, no class. No family. That phrase hung in the air. She'd said it before, weaponized it before. My standard response was that my parents had died when I was young, which was technically true. My mother had died. I'd been raised by my father until I was 13, when I'd been sent to live with my aunt. I never talked about my father. I'd never told the Bennetts anything about him, except that he was out of the picture. The truth was far more complicated. I opened my mouth to respond when the doorbell rang. The butler, yes, they had a butler, looked confused. We're not expecting anyone else, ma'am. Margaret waved her hand dismissively. Well, answer it, Gerald. Quickly. I knew who it was. My Apple Watch had buzzed 3 minutes ago with a text I'd secretly read under the table. Outside. Enough is enough. You see, there was something the Bennetts didn't know. Something I'd hidden for 3 years, not out of deceit, but out of a desperate desire to be loved for myself, to be seen as just Sarah, not as an extension of my father's empire. My father, Robert Chun, was a billionaire, not millionaire, billionaire. The Robert Chun who'd founded Chun Technologies, one of the largest tech companies in the world. The same Robert Chun who'd recently been featured on the cover of Forbes. The man who'd offered me a trust fund I'd refused, an executive position I'd declined, and a life of privilege I'd run from. I'd run from it because I'd wanted to prove I was more than my father's money. I'd wanted to build my own life, make my own way, find someone who loved me for me. What a stupid, naive dream that had been. Gerald opened the door, and I heard my father's voice, calm and commanding as always. "Good evening. I'm here to collect my daughter." The look on Gerald's face as he walked back into the dining room was priceless. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Ma'am, there's a Robertson here. He says he's here for his daughter." The color drained from Margaret's face. Then she laughed. "That's impossible. Sarah doesn't have a father. She's nobody from nowhere." But then he walked in. My father at 65 was still an imposing figure. Tall, impeccably dressed in a casual but clearly expensive suit, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him were two men I recognized as a security team, though they hung back respectfully. The Bennetts knew who he was. Everyone in their social circle knew who Robertson was. He was the kind of wealthy that made the Bennetts' old money look like pocket change. "Sarah," he said, his eyes finding mine across the room, "I've been patient. I've respected your wishes to handle this yourself. But I just had Thanksgiving dinner alone while checking your location on my phone, and I can't do this anymore. I'm your father. Letting you suffer with these people ends now." David found his voice first. You're Robert Chin. The Robert Chin." My father didn't even look at him. He crossed the room to me, his face softening as he saw my red cheek. "Did someone hit you?" I nodded, tears finally spilling over. His jaw tightened, and only then did he turn to face Margaret, who looked like she might faint. "You struck my daughter?" I didn't know," she never said. Margaret stammered. She shouldn't have had to say anything. My father cut her off, his voice like ice. "My daughter's worth isn't determined by her last name or her bank account. The fact that you couldn't see her value, her intelligence, her kindness, her strength, says everything about you and nothing about her." He turned to David. "And you let your mother abuse your wife. You sat there while she was humiliated and assaulted. What kind of man are you?" "Sir, if I had known who she really was." "If you had known she was rich, you would have defended her." My father's voice could have cut glass. "So you're not just weak. You're a gold digger yourself. Interesting." The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Margaret had spent 3 years calling me a gold digger, when her own son had just revealed that money was the only thing that would have inspired him to protect his wife. My father turned back to me, his expression gentle again. "Sarah, sweetheart, I know why you didn't tell them. I know you wanted to make it on your own, to be valued for yourself. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. You graduated with honors while working full-time. You've built a career through your own merit. You've proven everything you needed to prove. But you don't have to keep sacrificing your happiness and dignity for people who will never appreciate you." He was right. I'd known he was right for months now, maybe years. But hearing it said out loud, in front of everyone, broke something open inside me. "Come home," he said softly. "Let me throw you a Thanksgiving dinner where people are grateful for you." I looked at David one last time, my husband, who'd promised to love and protect me, who'd let his mother torment me for years, who'd only shown regret when he learned about my father's money. I want a divorce. "Sarah, wait, let's talk about this." David stood up suddenly, animated for the first time all evening. "You're upset, understandably, but we can work through this. Mother will apologize, won't you, Mother?" Margaret nodded frantically. Yes, of course. I'm so sorry, dear. If I'd known." "That's just it," I interrupted. "You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry about who I am. And David, you don't want to work on our marriage. You want to work on accessing my father's money. I can see it in your eyes." My father's security team moved forward slightly, and I realized they'd been recording. We have documentation of the assault," one of them said quietly to my father, "and audio of the entire conversation." "Good," my father nodded. "Sarah's lawyers will be in touch about the divorce proceedings. I imagine it will be quite straightforward, given what we've witnessed here today. And Margaret," he addressed my former mother-in-law directly, "if you come near my daughter again, if you so much as speak her name, I will ensure that every country club, charity board, and social organization you're part of knows exactly what kind of person you really are. I may not use social media, but I assure you, I have reach." It wasn't an empty threat. My father could make a call and have the Bennetts ostracized from every elite circle they valued. Margaret knew it too. She sank into her chair. All her earlier venom evaporated. As we walked toward the door, my father's arm around my shoulders, David called out one last time, "Sarah, please. I love you." I paused and turned back. "No, David. You love the idea of being the one who married down, of being the generous one, the rebel. You love having someone grateful and easy to control. But you never fought for me. Not once. That's not love." The night air was cold on my burning cheek as we stepped outside. My father's car, a sleek black sedan, waited at the curb. Not a limousine, not a flashy sports car. My father had never been about showing off. That was one of the things I'd always loved about him. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you how bad it was," I said as we drove away. "I knew," he said quietly. "I had someone keeping an eye on things. Not invading your privacy. Just making sure you were safe. When I got the alert that there was a confrontation today, I couldn't stay away anymore. I really wanted to make it on my own." "And you did, sweetheart. You are making it on your own. You have a career you built yourself. You've asked me for nothing. But being independent doesn't mean accepting abuse. Being strong doesn't mean suffering alone. I learned that lesson too late with your mother, and I won't let you make the same mistake." My mother had died of cancer when I was 12. My father, consumed with building his empire, had sent me to live with my aunt, thinking I'd have a more stable, normal life. It had broken both our hearts, but we'd both been too stubborn and hurt to bridge the gap for years. We'd only recently started rebuilding our relationship. "Thank you for coming," I whispered. "Always," he said. "I will always come for you." When we arrived at his house, his staff had prepared a complete Thanksgiving dinner, just for the two of us. As we sat down to eat, just a father and daughter, I realized this was what I'd been missing all along. Not the money, not the luxury, but the simple presence of someone who valued me unconditionally. 3 months later, I was divorced, living in my own apartment that I paid for with my salary, and working on rebuilding my relationship with my father. Not his money, just him. The Bennetts had faded into irrelevance, just unpleasant memories. I eventually learned through mutual acquaintances that David had tried to date several wealthy women after our divorce, always leading with the story of his crazy ex-wife, who hit her billionaire father. It never worked. People saw through him now. As for Margaret, she'd apparently told people I'd been a con artist who'd fooled her son, but the truth had a way of getting out in their social circles, and the real story of what happened at Thanksgiving became whispered gossip that followed her everywhere. My father and I have dinner every Sunday now, sometimes at his place, sometimes at mine. He's teaching me about the business, not because he expects me to join the company, but because I asked him to. I'm learning on my own terms, building a relationship on my own terms, living life on my own terms. And I never, ever compromise my dignity for anyone's approval anymore. That Thanksgiving taught me that the people who matter don't care where you come from or how much money you have. They care about who you are. And the people who only value you for your pedigree or your bank account aren't worth having in your life, whether you're a waitress or a billionaire's daughter. Sometimes karma doesn't wait for the afterlife. Sometimes it walks through the door in a tailored suit, calls you sweetheart, and reminds everyone in the room that your worth was never up for debate. You just had to stop debating it yourself. Now, I have a serious question for all of you watching. If you were in my shoes that night, if your mother-in-law slapped you and your husband just sat there doing nothing, what would you have done? Would you have waited for your father to walk through that door? Or would you have slapped her right back and walked out on your own? Have you ever had to deal with a toxic mother-in-law or cowardly partner? Let me know your thoughts and your own stories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you enjoyed this story of sweet revenge and finding your worth, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It helps our channel grow and brings more stories like this to you. Until next time, stay strong, trust your journey, and always remember your worth.